Stephanie Dobson is back with us this week, a familiar face here at Primetime Local News. Stephanie is a lawyer and mediator at Hanghead Divorce Law and Mediation here in Lloydminster. Stephanie, thanks for joining us once again.
Thanks for having me again, Stacey, as always.
Well, we're continuing talking about resilience when going through divorce because it is a very tough time going through divorce and separation. And you see clients all the time, and we have viewers that ask you questions. And so we're kind of going to compact this and try and get through as many as we can. So let's start out by the most common question, which is basically, if you're separating, what type of a professional should you be looking to hire?
Well, the first thing I want to address in this particular question is what I call the cause and effect nature of this question. So sometimes what happens is when people are first separating or divorcing, they automatically assume I'm separating, therefore I need to hire a lawyer and I need to do it right away. And what I want to do is to expand our viewers' frame of reference a little bit as to the types of professionals that they can hire, because that really is going to matter. And so every time I have what I call my 5-minute call with my clients, which is before they have a consultation, just, hey, you've called our office, what are you looking for? You know, I really try to focus on process and what are you looking for? So you can hire, and 2 examples are a lawyer and you can hire a mediator. And even within the realm of the context, I suppose, of lawyers, there's different types of lawyers. So some lawyers will focus more on using the court process to help you to get to resolution, and other lawyers will help you focus on staying out of the court system. So in the case of my firm, Hanghead Divorce Law and Mediation, all of our services are out of court negotiation process. So that's the first thing that my assistant will tell you as when you call in, and that I'll tell you. So our services, of course, are right for some families and not right for others. So then the question of when do you hire that divorce professional really depends on your situation. My recommendation is the sooner that you get in to meet with someone, to start working through what might be going through your mind, some of your initial questions, the better. You know, separation and divorce, as you said, Stacey, is a very foreign world to a lot of people. And so if you can get some professional guidance to start to be informed and empowered, even before you need to start making that decision on whether you need to hire that divorce professional or not, they can start helping you to wrap things around in your mind.
Well, and another common question that you get and that we've gotten here is, do I have to go to court? I think there's a misnomer that people think no matter what, they have to go to court, but that's not the case, correct?
Well, that's right. And that sort of leads off from our last FAQ, because as I mentioned, in our firm, we have a completely out of court practice. And so that said, there's some people that when I say that, their answer is, well, that's great. That's perfect, because I don't want to go to court. So I then have to carry on and say, well, it's not just whether you want to go to court or not. Sometimes is your situation appropriate to stay out of the court system. So there's 2 reasons why you would for sure need to go to court. One is to help you to get a judge to help you to arrive at resolution. So you and your ex cannot agree on certain things, whether it's, you know, you've used a mediator, you've used lawyers, and you simply just cannot agree, or there's some unreasonability perhaps on part of one or both parties, you may need to go to court to get help. And a judge will then rule on that particular topic. The other one is to file your paperwork at the end of your separation. So you've resolved all of your issues, and now we want to actually get that capital D divorce. That's the thing that allows you to remarry. It causes you to no longer be legally wed and no longer spouses. So in that case, we call it a desk divorce. So you don't actually have to go physically to court. Your lawyer doesn't even have to go to court. You just simply have to file the paperwork, and there's even email and online portals to do that now.
Well, and we are in a unique situation here in Lloydminster, Stephanie, because of the Alberta-Saskatchewan situation. So how does that affect things, the difference between if you are living on the Alberta side or Saskatchewan?
Well, for any lawyer is going to ask the question of all their clients, or, you know, where are you based out of, where do you live? But in particular for Lloydminster lawyers, that's always one of the very first questions that we ask, because of course I say to my clients, I either have to put on my Alberta brain or my Saskatchewan brain. There's different procedural rules and there's different laws that we have to follow depending on the province where you live. So let's first, for starters, let's talk about the procedural rules. So married couples who are wanting to get a divorce will need to file their paperwork through the court that's in their province of residence. Now, that has to be if you're actually filing for your final paperwork for divorce. And this gets a little bit complicated, but you have to have been living in that province for at least 1 year. So when people ask me the question of, does it matter if I move from Alberta on the Alberta side or the Saskatchewan side? Part of the difficulty can be if both of you move provinces and you haven't lived there a full year, you're not actually eligible in that province to get a divorce until that 1 year threshold has been met. So then the second piece, so that's the procedural part. So the second piece is the laws in that particular province. So our viewers may recall, we've talked a lot about the difference between the federal laws. So for example, in our case, we call it the Divorce Act. So that's a Canada-wide act versus the provincial legislation. So for parents who are unmarried, they need to look at provincial legislations. Also, for example, the division of assets and debts, that's also under the provincial jurisdiction. So Alberta and Saskatchewan have some similarities, but there's lots of differences there too.
All right, well, lots to consider, and we're out of time for this week, but let's continue this discussion next week because we still have some questions that we can definitely go through. So thank you for joining us this week, Stephanie, and we'll continue our discussion next week.
Yeah, thanks, Stacey.